Now here we are at the airport, and I'm about to disappear. Yeah, and there's Mr. Clark and Christopher, and so I'm leaving shortly. And this is the goodbye video to the airport. And goodbye to her too. And now it's probably time. Because my plane, when's my plane leave? 12:50 or something. I'm sitting waiting. It's more modern airport than our one. So group.
Are single, perhaps you'd like to sit on together with another single person, so that airport, the white space that we have, we actually need to leave earlier on the tour, clear through immigration and so on, right? Of course, during the peak hour period, the queue will be longer, right? So, but the immigration clearance is very fast. Now, coming through Singapore, it is one of the most convenient places to be at, either on stopover or even on transit, because your baggages get cleared through very quickly. Within 20 minutes, even half an hour, that's about the longest you have to wait, unless of course you lose your bags along the way. Alright, so 20 minutes to half an hour just to clear, and then you are in town in 15 to 20 minutes, depending on which part of town you're going to. How many of you are here, right? And then we also have Chinese. 欢迎来到新加坡. That means welcome again. Alright, that's in Mandarin. And Tamil is the official language for the Indians. Singapura ke Varungal. Alright, how many Tamil speaking people on this bus? Very good. So I hope I said it correctly. Now, all of us do not speak all the 4 official languages. We are able to speak at least 2, which make us all bilinguists here, right? Whether it's English and Malay, or English and Chinese, or English and Tamil, right? It depends on where our route lies, okay? So other languages are also spoken here in Singapore, so that you can understand that this is a very cosmopolitan country. People from all over the world work here in Singapore, and so our local people also will train our own tongues to speak other languages. This way we are able to be a very important economic center for the region as well as the world, right? Now, being first timers in Singapore, for some of you, you'll see lots of things which are different from your country. Those of you who have been here for the first time, you will see, for the second and more times, you will see lots of changes. Singapore is a place that changes all the time, right? Rapid changes. In fact, when you come back to Singapore by the end of this year, we will have the MRT. Now that stands for the Mass Rapid Transit System. That's the underground or the subway system, alright? Right from the airport into town. Okay, so that will make it really convenient for you when you come through the next time. If you plan your trip in such a way that the MRT will be ready, you can get go straight to the station and go straight into town. So this is a really a trip that will make you recognize the things that you are able to do here in Singapore for your next trip coming through, right? Short trip going into the town area. We are leaving the eastern part of Singapore. The eastern tip is where the airport is, and we're going towards the south, right? The southern part of the island, that's where the main city lies, right? The hustle and bustle of the city. The central business district is there, as well as the financial and economic center. Everything in one area. Everything planned in Singapore is very organized. So things, when we're talking about the planning of the town in Singapore, you're actually looking at a place where you will find things very easily, right? Moving around, even looking at housing estates. If you are able to move in one housing estate in Singapore, you'll be able to move in any housing estate, because the planning of the whole city is such, all right? Now, coming up this way, this is called the ECP. It stands for the East Coast Park. East Coast Park being this area here, the recreational area, or East Coast Parkway being this road over here. All right, we like to use lots of abbreviations. So you know what's the MRT, you know what's the ECP, you know what's the CBD too, right? We're going ahead for the CBD. That's the Central Business District. Now you can see the sea over there. That's the Straits of Singapore. Just to check whether you're asleep or not, do you know which country lies south of Singapore? Anybody? Malaysia? Good try. South of Singapore. All right, Indonesia. Indonesia is our neighbor south of Singapore. In fact, it's not so hazy today. You can actually see a land area there beyond the ships, and that is the Riau Islands of Indonesia, right? This is the closest part of Indonesia to Singapore, although it takes us 1 hour and a half just to fly to Jakarta, the capital city. It takes us just 45 minutes to get to these islands by ferry, all right? You want to swim across if you're a good swimmer, but we won't recommend that. Look at those ships out there. If you swim across, they can hardly see you. Besides, you have to keep your passport dry. That's Indonesia, right? So you need to have your passport. So that's going to be quite a difficult task, and the current is very, very strong. So better take the ferry across, right? 45 minutes, that's all. You can reach Batam and Bintan Islands. These are the two largest islands on the Riau archipelago to have been developed by the Indonesian as well as the Singapore government. Now, Singapore government has helped the Indonesian government in this way because we are looking at our future as well, right? Singapore today is 647 square kilometers, and we have a population that is increasing over the years. Today we stand at just past the 4 millionth mark. All right. Now, to have good ties with our neighbors, very important situation, because we are able to expand into their countries as well with regards to work, and to the south, which is in Indonesia, that's with regards to land. All right, we have land scarcity here in Singapore, and we are able to make use of the Indonesian islands down south of Singapore, right, by building factories there, building holiday resorts, which we can make use of as well. When we go on holidays, we don't want to take a long break, just about 2 or 3 days. That's where we go to. We hop across to the islands there. It's beautiful there, right? Now that's south of Singapore. So who lies north of Singapore? Anyone? Malaysia. All right. I noticed the Malaysians are not answering. They already know the answer, right? Now, that is north of Singapore. We're talking about West Malaysia or Peninsular Malaysia. These are the same places. So Malaysia is divided into east and west. All right. Now we can get to Malaysia by road, by rail. There's a train that goes all the way. In fact, it goes right through the peninsula all the way up to Bangkok, right, in Thailand. So that will take you 48 hours. Depends on whether you want to stay 48 hours on the train. It's a very interesting ride all the way up there, all right, going through the jungle of West Malaysia, right? Then you also go by ferry. You can get the ferry right across, and that's a car ferry, which means that you can drive your car, your whatever vehicle you have across, right? That's where we use the golf courses up there. So if you're a golfer, you might want to play up in Malaysia. That is possible too, right? Cruises, yes, we do have cruises here, leaving from our main Singapore Cruise Center, right, going to all over the world, and especially around the region as well, right? This is a very good spot in which you can make a stopover. You can fly to Singapore, join the cruise, and move around the region. Right, now since we left the airport, right up to now, there were golf courses around the area. Did you recognize that? Did you see it? Right, now I've been talking here, and many of you are looking at me now. You don't have to do that. I know you're not rude at all, so you feel like you need to look at me. No, you don't have to. You can look outside. This is a very short tour. I want to make sure that you look out and enjoy the city, enjoy the environment, okay, before we get back to the airport. It's just about an hour and a half on this tour, so enjoy the scenery. Now, coming out of the airport, there was a lot of greenery, there was a lot of low-lying area, and only up to a distance did you find these tall high-rises, right? Now, all this is part of the planning of the city. Everything that you're looking at today has actually been planned 30 to 40 years ago, all right? Now, Singapore today is 36 years old. Is that old? 36 is not, right? When you're young, you say that's old. When you're old, you say that's young. Now, over these years, ladies and gentlemen, just like us human beings, over the years we have put on weight here in Singapore. What used to be only 584 square kilometers, today we are 647 square kilometers. We have become very prosperous, as we say here, right? We do not use the word FAT, if you know how to read, right? Now, when you have grown in size, we say we are prosperous. Singapore has grown in size. You put on a little bit of paunch when you were 20, nice and slim. When you're past 40, you're nice and round, right? We're prosperous here. Now, Singapore has put on weight because we have actually added land to our original coastline. Okay, now this is what we call land reclamation. The original coastline of Singapore is a few hundred meters to your right-hand side. You can't see it now, but you're looking at all these buildings and everything since we left the airport, because this part of Singapore has been introduced some 30 to 40 years ago only. Right? Today we're in the year 2002, right? And so we started reclaiming this whole area only in the early 1970s. Okay, so if you haven't seen a land reclamation at such a big scale, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a very successful project here. Right, so all this is an area that was the sea at one time, and today, even as we mention about rapid development of Singapore, some of you may not be able to recognize this part of Singapore at all because of the development that has taken place over these years. Right, now moving up here, we're going in towards the city, the central business district, and going into that area, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to see skyscrapers, right? So far, all these buildings are not considered as skyscrapers. They're not very tall compared to what we have, right? Of course, they may be tall compared to what you have in your country, right? Now, here in Singapore, we have to move upwards, right? In every sense of the word. Upwards with regards to physical geography of Singapore. This is to accommodate as many people as we can. We're talking about a population density here of some 5,000 people to 1 square kilometer. All right, that's why we need to build these houses upwards, and in allowing people to live in such estates, right, or provinces. We don't call them provinces here because that would mean a larger area. We call them housing estates or constituencies here, and we have to actually people have to get used to living in such conditions. When we first moved people out of the villages into such an abode, we actually found that a few years later there were many problems that were faced by these people, and so then the social services had to come in and step into and give counseling services actually to senior citizens, to young children, on how to actually live in such situations, right? Together with the rapid development that we have had here. So Singapore is a very unique place in a way that we have grown in a very short period of time, and we have to face problems that many other countries do not face because of the rapid growth of population and the demand of such a growth as well. And supplying for the supply of this demand, we have managed to solve this through the years of preparation, 30 to 40 years of building and of preparation, of planning in advance. All right. Now these are the latest style of buildings, condominiums here. These are private accommodations that we have here. And these new accommodations have been built along the riverside, right? The heartlands, where we have built many of our main housing estates in the heartlands, mainly to accommodate as many people as possible, because that was the main demand at that time. Now we are giving people a choice of whether they want to live by the riverside or in the heartlands, right? Now here is a very good view of the port of Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Marina Channel going out into the sea. The port of Singapore stretches all the way from the east to the west of Singapore. Now in the past, Singapore was just a tiny little port around the Singapore River where we are heading for. It's a good day today, so we will be able to get off the bus and we are going to the Singapore River, where you can also experience a bumboat ride. Alright, the bumboat ride, that's the name of a typical vehicle that we used to use to carry all the merchandise from the big ships out in our port into the river. So you'll get that experience as well, although it's just a short ride of about 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, now as we came down the exit road into the central business district now, ladies and gentlemen, we are already in an area called Marina Centre. Right? Marina Centre here has been built about 25 years ago. So you can see these buildings are very modern indeed. These are our skyscrapers. They can go from 50 all the way up to 60 stories, right? The tallest buildings here, you'll see it near the river, 66 stories in height. Coming into this area, this is our main exhibition and convention area. You'll see the Suntec City. This whole area is called Suntec City, but the main exhibition and convention building is the one right behind the fountain, the one with the funny rooftop. Alright, you can see it over there. Funny rooftop being support for the whole fourth floor of the building, which is the main exhibition floor. So very few pillars that you can find on the floor. So exhibitors who come through Singapore like it here very much, because they don't have to plan their table in such a way that the pillar will block them off, so they have a very wide space to play with, right? Now here, as we come through, you can see many foreign investments in Singapore. We've got hotels, we've got offices, shopping malls. That's a lot of area that we use for. Shopping is one of the favorite pastimes of our local people, as well as foreigners who come through. Alright, so you can get everything from very expensive boutique products all the way to really cheap and bargain merchandise. So depending on where you go and what fun you want to have. Right? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Marina Centre. Now if we have Marina Centre, there must be a north, south, east and west somewhere, right? Now we haven't built that yet, but that is in the plan for the near future. We're talking about by the year 2030, Marina South will be completed. Alright, now Marina South, you will be able to see it in a short while. This whole area is Marina Centre, almost completed by the end of this year. It would have taken us about 25 years to have built all of Marina Centre. Right? Now if we had built this town in the last 20 to 25 years, don't you think these trees look more than 30 years? Yes? Yes. Now where do you get these trees then? If we had this land just built around that time, this whole area has been landscaped from land brought in from Indonesia. We didn't have any trees around here. So this is where we introduced instant trees. Have you heard of that before? We have to find all sorts of innovative ideas here in Singapore. Instant coffee, instant tea, instant noodles, we take a lot here. So why not instant trees too? That was when our senior minister, today he's the senior minister, at that time he was the Prime Minister of Singapore. It was his brainchild actually. It was his idea to bring in the trees from nurseries and tree farms in other parts of Singapore, and lo and behold, the next day you've got the whole place all landscaped. Alright, so of course over the years the trees have grown and they look like part of the landscape, but if you actually know how long trees take to grow, these trees are older than 25 years, right? Now when this big construction area here is completed, this is going to be our theatres on the bay because it overlooks the Marina Bay, and this is going to be a famous landmark in Singapore and all of the region, because this is going to be our one-stop art centre. Right? So if you are an art person, if you want to come here for a musical performance, lyric theatre, maybe you like to watch one of the London performances, they will probably come here because of our position here in Singapore. They will perform here. You will be able to get your tickets through the internet, come through our airport, come for the show, and then do your business as well. Alright, this is a one-stop art center, just like it is a one-stop business center as well. Yeah, you see all those tall buildings there? That is our main financial hub of Singapore, of the Asia Pacific, as well as the world. Alright, so this is a very important part of Singapore. Easy, it's a user-friendly city. Everywhere you go, it's easy to get to. And then can you imagine if you have to travel around Singapore as a foreigner and looking for art centers or art performances around, you probably finish off by missing your show, right? So to make it easier for everybody, it's one stop over here. Again, if you're looking at all the international banks, they're in one area, all right? And then you are connected by the MRT, the Mass Rapid Transit, which is the underground. You are also connected by underground passages, underground passerby area, right? We call them underpasses here, to connect one area to the other, so that rain or shine, the whole city still works. The whole city bustles away, alright? There is no stop, no reason to stop. So this is not a place for lazy people, but it is a place for people who love to loiter about. Can you imagine? If you're a tourist, you can walk around the area and enjoy yourselves. Now that you know the new Singapore, the new part of Singapore, built 20 to 25 years, is attached, ladies and gentlemen, to the old Singapore to the right. Right? So this all is part of the old Singapore that was introduced in the early 1900s. You've got the Anglican Church over there, that's St. Andrew's Cathedral. This is the City Hall, and the building with the dome is the Supreme Court. Alright? All the style of the buildings tell you that we were actually colonized by the British. Also, driving on this side of the road. Okay? We keep the good things and we thought the bad. We are in the new generation here in Singapore, and so here in the colonial area we still have the colonial buildings. Okay, now we're going to stop here and we are going to walk down to the Raffles landing site. You will see the statue of Sir Stamford Raffles, the founder of modern Singapore. Right? Come along with me. If you have any valuables, please take them off the bus. Right?
Raffles. We're on the river cruise. Nice houses.
I was the heart of commercial activity. When many Asians west the center of the island, they traveled on hundreds of bumpers, just like this one, laden with goods from all over the world. Merchants who came to seek their fortune brought rice, tea, silk, porcelain from China, spices from the Celebes, and cotton from India. I still hold the hardship that people endure in those early days. Heavy sacks of cargo were carried on their backs as they walked along wooden planks, linking the riverbank to the boats. Today, my banks are lined with shop houses built by themselves, nestled among green skyscrapers or river. The white building on your right is our Parliament House. I remember it being used as a courthouse until a boatyard opened next door. It created such a noise that the courthouse was eventually built. Named after George Foreman, an Irish architect, for his contribution to Singapore's development. The original was completed in 1886 and rebuilt again 100 years later. floating restaurants. Notice the eyes painted on their bows. It was believed that these eyes allowed the boats to see danger ahead, as if I would protect them. Entertainment was simple for the early settlers. People would gather on cool evenings to listen to storytellers tell their tales near this bridge. It's called the Reed Bridge. Of course, I too have many interesting tales to tell. Tales about the triumph of the human spirit. Tales as old as a century. And more. town planning exercises to house the seat of government on one side, on your right, and commercial enterprise on the other. Take a look at the buildings on my left and right banks. You'll see this is still apparent. Today, some of these government buildings have been renovated and retrofitted as museums and venues for holiday events. Ahead on my right bank is another historical building, Empress Place Museum. Built in 1854, she previously housed the immigration officers. Now undergoing her second restoration exercise, this beautiful building will soon house a part of the Asian Civilization Museum, where Asian history comes to life. The living legacy will be known to all. And now, we approach Raffles landing site, the site where it all began. We have come full circle, where once I was the nation's lifeline. Today, I'm filled with the life of the nation. The spirit of our forefathers and the early settlers will always remain with me. And I am proud to have played a part, evolving the pulse of modern Singapore that you feel today. I hope you have enjoyed this journey. Please come back soon. The spirit of the new Asia Singapore awaits. As the boat comes to a halt, please watch your step when you disembark. Thank you.
Okay. That's the tunnel stand for Raffles.
And breezy, nice and warm too, huh? Now that you're in this bus, it's nice and cool. Now you can put the air vents towards you or away from you, right? See how comfortable you get as you move along. This is the colonial area, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Colonial area here. So we've got the City Hall, closer view of it. We've got this is the Anglican Church. This is called St. Andrew's Cathedral. Right? Now, as we move along this area, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that we have a lot of places in Singapore in which you can actually look into, right? And as a transit passenger, even a few hours out of the airport will actually make a difference. Okay, so coming out here, you can see you have an idea of what it looks like already. It's so easy to move along. Here, if you look to the left-hand side, you can see the Raffles Hotel, which is the oldest hotel in Singapore, right? It's my friend there. And the oldest hotel here, ladies and gentlemen, was built in 1887, right? Now, 1887, when Singapore was just about beginning. Right, now we started in 1819 when Sir Stamford Raffles first came here, right? You saw the statue and so on and so forth. Now that was when he started turning us from a trading settlement, from a fishing village actually, into a trading settlement, and finally into a port. So Singapore has been a port for a long period of time. Right? Now, over the years, we have had to build Singapore very quickly, also because of a lot of pressure that we get from the region around us, a lot of development going on, right? So here we've got Beach Road. This road is the place in which you will be able to get a hotel called Beach Hotel, but it's not going to be near the beach. Now all of you know why, right? It is all right up to the, it's all been taken care of by land reclamation, all right? Thank you. All right, so here, ladies and gentlemen, Beach Road, along this way, we have actually started to reclaim this whole area since the early 1900s. So land reclamation has been introduced to Singapore for a long period of time. The only thing at that time, we didn't call it land reclamation, it was called landfill. Right? So we've got names of streets that may be called Wallick Hill and Ang Siang Hill, and all these things with hill at the back. You might just find a slope. That's all. And the reason is because we have cut off the hills, because we have actually had to use the earth of the hills to dump them into the coastal areas all around the swampy areas in the region, right? Now, the Singapore River, that's where we were, right? Some of you asked me what was the name of the river. It's Singapore River, right? Now, that became a very crowded place, and it was full of slum style of living, right? Now, over the last 36 years, ladies and gentlemen, we have actually brought Singapore out from a slum living right up to what you're looking at today. So this has been become a really great difference from what it was, right? And this is all actually under one particular government, right? We haven't changed government at all. We haven't changed parties as well, because they have been so successful that I think even the people are afraid to change in case of promises that are not given, right? You can promise your people so many things, more improvement than what you see today. I think a lot of people can actually see the success of Singapore, and so they stick to the safe road here, right? So basically the same government for the last 36 years. So what you're looking at is actually organization from this particular government, right? And before that, prior to that, we were actually a federation of Malaysia. Right? From 1963 to 1965, we were together with Malaysia because that was one way in which we could become independent, right? So, and prior to that even, we were actually under the British, right? So, of course, this being a tour which is only of an hour and a half, I'm not able to give you much detail into all this. So, if you need more information, we actually have some very good books that you can buy at the Time bookstore, talking about the development and the growth of Singapore in the last so many years, right? Now, talking about Singapore, as you can see here as it is, we had the man who actually brought Singapore out from the difficulty that we had was, first of all, the Englishman. You saw the statue, Sir Stamford Raffles, and he, although he was here only for a short period of time, ladies and gentlemen, he had a vision about Singapore, and in his annals he actually wrote that Singapore would be, he would be very happy if he saw Singapore as the emporium of the East, right? So from him, with the vision that he had, he chose Singapore as a trading settlement, and I think if he was still alive today, he would be very happy to see the development of Singapore as we are today. Right? All that is beach road, that is the original coastline over there, and everything that you see now, right, is an area that has been added on to the original coastline. Alright, so a lot of building up over here going on for the last 30 to 40 years. Marina Center, you can see it again. Now earlier on I mentioned airport is on the eastern tip. The Central Business District is to the southern part of Singapore. To the west, that's where we have our heavy industrial area. Okay, so the heavy industrial area would comprise of our shipbuilding yards, petrochemical plants. We also have our the port area over there, right? So many of the heavy industries are located on the western coast, because where you have heavy industries, there will be a lot of pollution, right? So that's where we get the wind blowing the pollution away from Singapore, right? So again, this is where you can actually see the planning. Planning of the town is a very important part of Singapore. In fact, that is one of the services that we give, we actually provide for other countries who need to plan their towns as well. All right, so if you have a town which is fairly untidy, you can give us a call and our experts will come in and help you out. Okay, so this is a city which is very organized, which is very much a very important part of Singapore, because when you have an organized city, you are able to work very well in business, right? So in business, if you're talking about having about 5 appointments in the morning, it is possible here in Singapore. First of all, you see how fast it is to get into the center, right? And then you can have so many different appointments because you can move from one place to another easily without being stuck in traffic jam. Alright, the minute you go into the Central Business District, ladies and gentlemen, if you had noticed gantry points that was written ERP, that's again a short form that stands for Electronic Road Pricing. The minute you get into the CBD, you pay a toll fee, right, according to the peak hour period, and that actually cuts down the traffic by a lot, right? A lower level, and so you get people who have nothing to do in the town area for a long for a period of time, all right? They will be able to move about freely. Okay, so that cuts down the traffic in that way. Okay, so as we move along, ladies and gentlemen, the city you're leaving behind, and here I'd like to talk a little bit about the Garden City, right? Talking about the greenery of the place. The Garden City is the other name of Singapore. Now, the original name of Singapore is Singapura. Have you heard of this name before? Singapura is the original name, and in Sanskrit, which I think many of you know, right, it means anybody? Something to do with the lion, the lion city, right? Singapura, Pura means a place, the base of the lion. Do you think we have lions in Singapore? He doesn't think so, and he's right. Yes, we do actually at the zoo. We've got lions at the zoo, but that's all we have, right? Now, I saw someone with a t-shirt that says Singa Lager Beer, right? Where are you? Singa? Now you know that Singa has got a symbol of the lion. Now, Singa, for the Thai people, is also the lion, because the base of the language is also Sanskrit. Okay, so anybody around here, even in Malay, Singa is a lion. Okay, so the place of the lion, and this I have to take you all the way back to the end of the 12th century. So this makes you realize that Singapore did not exist only 35 years ago. That was when development of the country started. But 1819 was when the British were here, and then again before that, Singapore was a fishing village, right? Now, when this prince, he was a prince of a kingdom, this is called the Majapahit Kingdom, that was ruling this whole area. There was no Indonesia, no Malaysia, no Singapore at that time. It was all under this particular kingdom, and they could move from one country to the other and just decide to conquer the land, whatever they wanted. So this prince, who was called Sangnila Utama, he came to Singapore and he thought he saw an animal in the jungle. This is all jungle at that time, and he thought that it was a lion. Now, if you are the prince and if you say, I saw a lion, as subjects, do you think you would go against his word? Maybe not. Maybe you'll just agree, yes, you saw a lion, right? Because he's the king. And in the past, they don't hear yes or no. They just want to know yes if they are the king. So everybody said, yes, you saw the lion. And so he decided to change the name. Although he did hunt for the animal but never found it, he decided to change the name from Temasek, which is the original name of Singapore, and that means a sea town, to the city of the lion. The city where he saw, the place where he saw the lion. So that's our name today, Singapura. Okay, now this has gone on when the British were here. Singapura is a bit too long, so it was cut down to Singapore, right? And then we also had the Japanese in Singapore between 1942 to 1945. Do you know what years were that? The Second World War. Singapore also had a change of name, Sionanto, and that means the light of the south. The Japanese wanted to take over Singapore for the port, and that was what they did, and they had a monopoly around the region, right? Because they had the trade. They could actually take over the whole place. And then again, over the years of development, Singapore has stayed, the name stayed on. Singapura is also used today. It's become very, very successful. Of course, there's a crisis right now, but over the success of Singapore, a lot of people were talking about another name, right? To change its name again. Now, from Singapore, they thought that it would be a good idea to change it to Singa-Rich. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. That's just a joke. Nobody thought of that. But it's a thought that never happened, because with our economy going up and down, you can never want to have a name like that, so that you would always have a good name like Singapore, right? So no changes of name. But even in the past, as we are a hunting ground, ladies and gentlemen, today we're still a hunting ground. Did you know that? Hunting and fishing, we're very famous for that. No, you don't think so? You're not very convinced? Hunting, yes. People come here to hunt for work today. In the past, they used to hunt for wild animals. That was a royal game at that time. Now, we are also a fishing ground. They used to fish a lot of good different types of fishes and whatnot, sea food, right? Now people fish. They come here to hunt and they fish their spouses. Right? They meet their partners, their future partners in Singapore, and end up marrying each other and then go back to their country and so on. And so if there are not enough forms here, you can always pick it up at the counters, alright? Take care, everybody. Have a pleasant trip. God bless.